Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting oil painting video. I'm your humble host, John, and let's get started. I actually had a very good response last week to my palette knife painting. I had quite a few views, a couple of comments, so I'm going to do another one. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a couple more. This one and next week I'm going to do another one and see what happens. It's going to be all knife again, and today we got a normal 16 by 20 regular stretch canvas. I got a knife that I've been wanting to try, a little on the expensive side, made by Gamblin, who makes paint, does it real well. But they were a little expensive, I don't know, 15 to 20 bucks or something. My wife found one at Blick that was on clearance for like $6, so I figured I'd try it. I don't know if that blade's good enough to use for the whole thing, so I'm going to get my normal big blade out, and I'm going to use my Gamblin knife for some other stuff in this painting and see how it goes. Hope everybody that is a mom, hope all moms out there are having a great Mother's Day. We celebrated Mother's Day for my mom. Yesterday we had dinner over at her place with Pop. It was really a beautiful day. It's been a beautiful weekend, actually. Okay, so I've got phthalo blue, titanium white. Now, one of the things you notice right away is I don't have it as a solid color. We're using a palette knife. You don't need a solid color. You can make it whatever the hell you want. And I like to make my palette knife stuff a little more expressive. So I like to kind of mold, or marble, I should say, my colors. You know, it's funny, when I first started using a knife, I only used it for a couple little things here and there, and I was scared to death of it. I had no idea how to control it, and it looked like shit and everything else. But I always thought in the back of my head there was a purpose for it somewhere. Just had no idea what. And I've been painting for many years, and I'm finally getting to the point where I'm probably just going to say, the hell with it, and I'm going to be a palette knife painter only in the very near future. And the reason is because I've done so many applications with a knife now that I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable. Okay, so here we go. I was putting the paint on with the knife like I told you, any way you want, just like a brush. This way, it doesn't matter. You get your look the way you want it. See, I just put up and down. Go to the side, and now you got your sky. So, what you want to do is remember, when you're putting in stuff like grass, foliage, some kind of leafy trees a little bit, the pine trees, you'll go flat, okay? And you make your shapes. When you're doing everything else, you're going to use a side of the blade. And it's great, okay? You're also going to go like this for like water, clouds, whatever the case may be. So, I like a relatively smooth looking sky. Relatively, not completely. So, I'm going to go from right to left, left to right, depending on where your dominant hand is or what you feel like. I'm just going to smooth it out. There we go. Remember, you don't want to have crazy thick paint in the beginning. If you want to go crazy thick, do that at the end. You want to have just, because the palette knife's going to be thicker anyway, so you just want to not go crazy. It's easier to work with a knife, with anything, even a brush, if your paint isn't crazy thick to start with. There we go. Just smoothing that out. And like I said, you can't see it exactly on the video probably. This is still rough, but for a knife, let me see if you can see. Yeah, maybe a little bit. When I crop it in, you might be able to see it a little bit. For a knife, this is pretty smooth. For a brush, no, not even close. And that's the whole point. If you wanted to brush smooth, then use a brush. For me, in nature, I like using the knife. Now I'm just gonna take the paint that I have already on the canvas. There we go, moving around, do whatever. Manipulate the paint. No different than with a brush, except you're using a knife. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, your other main tool, paper towels. Lots of them. One of the things I mentioned last time, that I'm going to mention again, and I'm going to always mention it. If you're one of these people, and there are a lot of you out there, including my dad, if you're sensitive to different thinners and mediums and different toxic paint pigments and stuff like that, one of the things that's beautiful about a knife, there is no paint thinner. There are no mediums. I mean, you can use a medium to make it blend out a little bit better, but you don't need it. I never use it for my knife painting. And there is no brush to clean, just a paper towel, and it's good as new. I mean, this is an old knife, so it's stained and everything else, but, you know, in good shape. You buy the pigments that don't have the harsh minerals in it, so you don't buy cadmiums unless it's a hue. That's a synthetic version, so then it's safe. You don't buy the cobalt unless it's a hue, and so on. So doing stuff like that is going to make it so, one, you have a green room studio, so you can do it in your house without any problem. And two, cleanup is very easy. You just wipe off whatever knife you were using, and you're done. Now, drawback. Now for me, it's going to take longer because it's thick anyways, but just a little bit longer because I use my Griffin Alkyd paints for most of my paintings. So those are quick dry. A painting like this, 2 days touch dry, 3 at the most. Normal paint, conventional paint, can take a lot longer to dry. So if you're impatient, you might want to put that in the back of your head. Impatient painters, you want to go to an Alkyd paint, possibly go to acrylics. You can use almost the same techniques with acrylics. So it really matters what it is you want to do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want to have a forest in here. Okay, and I'm going to put it in a very thin, it will be thin, it's not yet. I might even add white into it to thin it out and lighten it up. Sap green, okay? And I'm going to use that as like the back of my forest, the backdrop of my forest. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just putting it in. And yes, I'm going to smooth it out. And then I'm going to use the tap to get my foliage look. And I haven't decided if it's going to go pine trees only, where it's going to tap, or am I going to have some leafy trees? I haven't figured that out yet. And it's not something that you need to figure out until you actually are in that position and you're doing it. You know, a knife and a brush, regardless of what tool is in your hand, the whole thing about painting, it doesn't matter what medium it is, but especially for me in oils, is your attitude, in my opinion. And your attitude is that you're going to have fun and create something beautiful that you're going to enjoy doing. You know, and the only person that judges that is you. You know, if you put your stuff out there for other people to see and you want to get their opinion, great. I highly recommend it, even if sometimes it might be harsh. Everybody has to go through that. But you don't have to. If you want to be just a hobby painter and just paint for yourself, do it. If you want, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. Same thing with a sketchbook. I'm going to try and incorporate when my show season is at a little bit of a lull, some sketching videos here, and just get an idea of how you sketch and everything else. And again, it's your sketchbook. Nobody has to see it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. And the funny part is, the more you do it, the better it's going to look anyways. So if somebody saw it the first time you ever did it, and they saw it 2 years later, and you've been consistent with it as far as doing it, it's going to be night and day. You're not even going to know it's the same artist. And that's just one of the beauties of the way humans were created. I mean, the more we do it, the more we learn. And that really helps out people like me, knowing that you don't have to have any special anything. You just have to have the want. As long as you have the want, you'll be able to do it. Painting, an instrument, sports. Now, for some of the, like, you know, turning out a Da Vinci or, you know, a concert pianist or, you know, Aaron Rodgers in football. No. Don't matter how hard you work. Sometimes you have to have that God-given ability to start with, and then the work ethic and the opportunity and everything else. But you want to get to where you're good and you can hold your own with just about anybody? Yeah, you can do that. You want to get to the point where people look at your work and go, wow, that's really something. Yeah, you can do that. I'm living proof of it. You know, there's only one Michael Jordan, and he worked his tail off, but he was blessed with an enormous amount of talent. Now, yes, it does take longer a little bit when you're covering a big area like this with a knife as opposed to a brush. Part of it, the reason why it's taking longer too, is I'm talking while I'm painting. So that's slowing me up a little bit. But it is, in fact, it does take you a little bit longer. To me, that's irrelevant. I have so damn much fun using the knife, I don't care that it takes longer. I just enjoy it. I'm just about done with the backdrop of the forest. If you noticed, we don't have a mountain today. I might put some rocks in here somewhere, but I don't know. Again, haven't decided yet. That's not a bad thing. Okay. There we go. Actually, I'm not going to lighten this up at all. I like the way that green is looking in there. Let me see how that looks. That'll work. I get it. It looks like two big blocks. Two big rectangles. I get it. That's fine. It's not going to end up that way. And you know it. You've seen enough of my videos. You've got, I think I mentioned her name, Polly Lee Hammond. Goes by Lee Hammond. Yes, that was Raphael saying hello to everybody, by the way. She is brilliant at drawing, illustration, painting as well. She's a brilliant artist. And she's got several books out there. One of the things she has in all her books is the awkward stage of art. Painting, drawing, whatever. And that's the stage where it's necessary to be in that stage, but it looks like shit. And the whole idea is to be able to push past the awkward stage. This, point in fact, would be the awkward stage. It doesn't look like shit, but you hang with it and it will. So, you've seen me do this about 8 million times, right? At least 8 million times. Maybe 9 million times. I don't know, I lost count. And all I'm doing is taking this color here and I'm giving it a tree texture. That's it. Giving it a tree texture. And I'm going to take some gray to make tree trunks for here and there. And there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. You just want to cover it all. Okay, you just want to cover it all with the tree texture. Okay, that's all it is. And basically, this is giving it a backdrop to what's going to be there. All of this is our background forest. Okay, that's it. That's our background forest. And we're going to have these as our background trees. That's what we're creating right now, background trees. And then when we put in our distinct trees on the same plane, but in front of it, this is going to get thrown back. The trees with more color is going to come forward. They're going to come forward, and they're going to have beautiful forest. And that's what's going to happen. Again, a little bit tedious, a little bit monotonous. I don't mind because I love every aspect of painting, to be quite honest with you. There's no part of the painting process I don't enjoy. And it just, I don't know. I've been hooked for so long. Don't care how tired I am, I'll go in my studio and do something. Long, hard day at work, I'll do something in my studio. I may not always paint. But I'll do something in my studio that is art related. Okay, so now we've got our forest. Okay, So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go up a little bit here. I'm just going to fill in some gaps. And I'll show you what I'm going to do here in a minute. And you look, my line isn't straight across. It's a little bit of a wave. There we go. You can see a little bit of the sky through the top part. And basically what I'm doing here is manipulating the paint to get it the way I want it to look. That's all. That's all. And hey, you can see the texture a little bit on the video. I like that. Okay. Excuse me. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put in a few clouds. I'm not going to go with a lot. I'm going to try the new knife for the clouds. Thin. It is a taper. So handle's actually, I'm a little over 6'1" and I'm a big guy, so the handle actually feels pretty good. Okay, so let's just see. I'm just tapping, getting a little bit of cloud shape in there, I guess, along with the white. And the white I'm blending a little bit with the background blue and white that I have in there. Trying not to go crazy with the thickness. But I still want to there we go. A little more white is what I needed in there. Sometimes you blend it, and I just did it the first time so much that it goes into the blue, and then that's all you got is just a lighter blue instead of the white of the clouds. So you got to be careful, and you got to learn how to handle it. You don't want to go as rough, okay? You want to keep it That's looking pretty good. A little bit tidying up. There we go. A little bit of tidying up here. This one I also blended too much and lost my brilliant white of the cloud. There we go. Okay. First paper towel bites the dust. Actually, I'm not using too many of them today. But we still got quite a ways to go on the painting. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go with a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm going to put in the grass, followed by the water. And again, just the same downward stroke. Now that we're doing grass, land, as opposed to, you know, the sky and stuff like that, soon the water, you can, you don't even need to come across. I do because I like the look. See, I just like that look. And what I'm going to do is just going to tap in. Now you got to have thick paint to do this technique where you're touching and it's doing this, but you don't, like I said, you don't want crazy thick. You want to be able to control it, and especially if you're new and you're just starting out with the palette knife. You want to be able to control this stuff. And I know I'm in the way. I apologize. I'll get out of your way in a minute. There we go. There. Now with that land in, now you have a distinct look that you can see what it's looking like. It's like anything else, you know. You're building a scene. You're building a landscape. You're taking something that, in many cases, unless you have photo reference or you're there in person, that doesn't exist. And then you're creating something that now people can enjoy. Whether it's real or not is irrelevant when it comes to painting. Does not matter. It's funny too, because I don't do anything like Bob Ross, but I still like some of his attitude. And one of the attitudes that he's always had that I always found striking when I was watching his videos when I was a younger man is that we kept saying it just doesn't matter. And there's times I'm like, how can it not matter? You're trying to build something. You're trying to create something. You're trying to get a nice painting. How can it not matter? The more I got into painting, the more I found out he was correct. It doesn't matter. You do your best. You follow some basic principles and you let it go. You just let it go. You have fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Anybody that'll listen to me, I tell them that. If you're not having fun painting, especially oil painting, I mean, yeah, the other paintings, acrylics, watercolors, gouache, all that stuff, pastels, they're all fun. They're a blast. But just something about oil painting that I just absolutely adore. And part of it is the pigments. They're just such deep, rich, beautiful pigments that it just, you know, depending on what look you are trying to get, you can accomplish just about anything with them. You know, you buy the right materials, you have enough practice, you have some instruction when needed, and you can just create some incredible things with oil paint. Yes, you can with all the mediums. I'm not a medium bigot, nothing like that. It's just, I've done them all. My next favorite, believe it or not, is soft pastels. They're just so messy and so delicate. Taking them to shows and stuff is very difficult because of, you can never really do a complete permanent fix on them like you can on paint because of the powder. You get too much fixative and it just destroys, it darkens the values so bad it destroys the piece. And I've yet to find a fix that works, but they're a lot of fun. I like, you know, having the medium right in your hand like this, and there's no brush or knife or nothing in the way, and it's just you, that little stick, and then what you're painting on. But as much as I love using soft pastels, and I still use them once in a while, you know, if I get into a little bit of a block with my oil paintings, I'll grab some soft pastels and some of my sandpaper that I use with them. It's not regular sandpaper, but it has the texture of it. And, you know, I'll grab them and start, you know, creating. And that'll really loosen me up. One of the things I do with a knife is that helps loosen me up. But, like I said, the more I'm doing stuff, the more I'm probably going to be a palette knife painter solely. I like a lot of work I did over the years with, and recent too, with a brush. I really do. I think some of it's very expressive. I think, you know, I was finally starting to get the hang of it. Things were starting to really come together. But some of the work with the knife is just I don't know, it's very freeing. I'm not trying to talk you into anything because it takes a special attitude to use a knife only, especially if you're not as familiar with it. But don't be surprised if the majority of my videos going forward are going to be with the knife. And I hope that's okay with you. You know, if you still want to see paintings with a brush, that's fine. I've got all my brushes. I didn't get rid of them. You know, you're the viewers. If that's what you want to see, you'd let me know, and that's what I'll do. There we go. I just want to get this line. It doesn't have to be straight, but I want it straight-ish. There we go. Okay. The thing of it is, you have to do what it's inside of you to do. And this is at an angle I don't like. So I'm taking paint from other areas here, putting it there. Again, I do not like, nor am I a proponent of straight lines in art. However, depending on the subject matter, depending on the composition, depending on a few things, you at least want it to be straight-ish so it doesn't throw off the perspective. This had too much of a dip for no reason in the landscape. Okay, it wasn't like I had, you know, a little valley that was obvious. It just was an eyesore. And the eye, it's funny because when you look at a painting and there's something not quite right with it, you may not have any idea, but your eye's gonna catch it. And there's gonna be something wrong with the painting, even if you don't know what it is, whether it's your work or somebody else's. And eventually you'll figure it out, but the eye knows there's something wrong and tells your brain, hey, SOS, something's not quite right. So when I just went back to look at something else, I saw that and it's like, okay, the eye says, nope, to the brain, that's not right. Now I have experience and it's my painting. So at that point in time, it was a little easier. As you gain experience, it'll be easier for you. But you always want to understand, never a perfect painting. No matter who does it, there's always going to be something. Don't get arrogant with your work and think that you can have perfect paintings. And don't be afraid to fix things. Oil paint especially. You know, acrylics, yeah, it's tough. They dry so damn quick. Golden has open acrylics that stay open for a couple days, so yeah, that's a lot easier to do. These are my Griffin, well, these aren't, but normal painting is Griffin alkyds. So that still gives me hours to do it, not days. Watercolors is very tough because it's non-forgiving. If you make a mistake, you got to really know what you're doing to make that better. So it's just a matter of being in tune to what you're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to take brown and sap green. A little bit more sap green. That way it's too brown. I want this to be very dark because I'm going to hit it with the cad yellow hue for my grass to lighten it up. And I want to make sure that I have the darkness I need. Basics in life. When you're painting, drawing, whatever, you can't see light without dark and vice versa. So contrast is very key. Now, once again, I'm going up and down. That's just applying the paint. I'm going to go side to side here shortly. But that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to just use some more yellow ochre, lighten it up a little bit. And part of the reason I'm doing this is I want it to get a little bit lighter over here. And another part of it is I ran out of sap green and I don't feel like putting more out on the palette yet. I didn't run out of it completely, I just ran out of it off my palette. And I didn't want to put it on yet. I will here in a minute because I'm going to have to. There's still a lot of painting left. But if you don't need to do it, I don't care, don't do it. It's up to you. I think one of the things people do like about creating art is it is their own. And when you're doing it for yourself, nobody can tell you what to do, how to do it, or anything else. It literally is one of the few things in this world that we have some control over. I think that's part of the appeal to some people when they're painting. You know, when you're playing an instrument, I don't know because I have no talent for music whatsoever. I'm good at playing the radio. But music is hard because it's a distinct sound here for a song. Distinct notes, distinct chords, things like that. Painting, it literally can be anything. You don't really have abstract music where you have abstract art. And I think that's where the difference is. And again, that's just me rambling about stuff that I'm just not sure about, but I'm always questioning. There we go. See how this is marbled like our sky was? See how pretty that green is? This is burnt umber, sap green, and yellow ochre. Look how beautiful that is. Okay, all of the white of the canvas is gone. And that actually is a very nice underpainting. That came out very well. And it didn't take us all that long. I've been yakking away and not even going fast. And that was 32 minutes. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to mix up some white and Payne's gray to make a lighter gray. Now I'm going to put in the tree trunks. I'm not going to put a ton of them in because it's going to be covered. I'm going to put some trunks in. I'm just using the side of my brush, side of my knife. There we go. You want to do them like I'm doing, a little all over the place. Some big ones, some little ones, some turning to the left, some turning to the right, some thicker, some thinner. This is nature. You can go anywhere. And yes, it is blending a little bit with the green behind it. That's okay. I want to be able to see it. And that's all. I'm just touching. Just touching. And most of this, I would say, I'm guessing, 85% of it, 80 for sure, will be covered with foliage. But there's going to be certain areas where it won't be covered, and that's where you're going to see branches and stuff. And that's what the illusion is going to be. Now I'm just going thinner for the stuff in the middle. And these don't go up that tall. There we go. Oh, that looks pretty good, actually. Okay. Trees I struggle with sometimes still to get the foliage to look the way I have it in my head, if that makes any sense. I can make a tree look like a tree, pine tree, deciduous. That's no, I've been painting for years. I can do that. But for some reason, I have these pictures in my head. A lot of it's from the Morton Arboretum that my wife and I belong to in Lisle, Illinois. Where I live, that's only 25, 30 minutes away. And the Arboretum's gorgeous. And I see some of those trees with their weird canopies and stuff, and I have this picture in my head sometimes. Excuse me. And I just I have a difficult time putting that image from my head onto the canvas. Excuse me, sometimes I get lucky, and then other times not so much. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use cad yellow light hue. We're going to use a little bit of sap green, and we're gonna use some yellow ochre. And then I'm just gonna make different values and different hues of green. And then you understand too that we have green background. Okay, so wipe this off. I need a little bit more sap green. I used so much of it in the beginning, I didn't put out enough overall. Yellow ochre mixed with Payne's Gray is a nice olive green. With phthalo blue, it's nice. With ultramarine, it's nice. Cad yellow is my favorite for making greens. Just gets this bright, beautiful green. Okay, so we're gonna take it. We're just gonna, it's hard to describe the stroke. But I'm touching and moving. And I'm using the front half of the, and I'm just putting in stuff. And it's gonna look better once I get the canopy done, because the canopy's got to be uneven. An even canopy looks stupid. There we go. And like I said, I'm touching and moving. Touching and moving. So I'm a little tap, but I'm just a slight move while I'm doing it. It's hard to explain. I wish I could do it better. No, here I'm just touching. Now I'm touching and kind of trying to spread. I hope that makes some sense to you. Too thick. So when it's too thick, you just wipe it off, use it somewhere else. Then you go back with your texture. There we go. Now every once in a while, even though we're using the same colors, clean off your knife. You just don't want it caked up so much where you've got all this bulk paint all over your knife. And now the part of this canopy I'm doing is a little dark, and common sense would tell you the higher up it is, the closer it is to the sun. And with that blue sky, you know it's sunny outside, so it's going to be lighter. I'm just getting in my canopy with a medium green. I'm going to go more with the cad yellow on top of that for highlights as we go. But I wanted to get that done first. Again, it's not a cardinal rule where this is what you must do. It's my preference for how I'm doing this. And then once I get all this green done the way I want, then I will get the highlights where I want them. There we go. Doggone it. Keep getting in heel of the blade into the red. Now, granted, I don't have a real big palette, but it's like, doggone it. Stop being so sloppy, John. But you see what I'm doing? It's a little similar to how I do the clouds. The only difference is when it mixes with the stuff underneath here, as opposed to the clouds, I like it. Because it's mixing with the same green that I want it to be. And again, it's a big painting, 16 by 20. It's not huge, but it's big. Oh, the hell with it. Put some red on there by mistake again. I'm going with it. And then the other thing too is you want to be a little erratic. You don't want the same line everywhere, the same shape everywhere. You want to understand this is nature and you're going to go all over the place. Okay, so wipe off the blade again, especially since I can't stop using the damn red. Okay, now I'm going to go with a little bit more yellow ochre as I get a little closer down to the bottom. The darker area, and the yellow ochre is much darker than the cad yellow. And now I'm just making little bush shapes. Oh wow, fly got in the house. You know it's spring. And you land on this paint, and that'll be the last thing you land on, little buddy. There you go. With a knife, you're going to have difficulty being precise. That's a good thing. See how I'm just shaping things? Just using the tip of the knife to shape things. Okay, so how's that look? Oh, that's looking good. That's looking good. Okay, so next thing I want to do is I want to get a little bit of those highlights on the top. So I'm going to take, I don't have any pure color left on my palette. It's mixed with everything else, but I'm going to take as close to it as I can with the cad yellow. And I'm just going to the tops of these canopies. I want this to be light. There we go. Here. A couple of them where the light might be shining through. Won't go further down than that, but okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little blendy. So I've got the highlights where I want them. I don't want it just yellow. So I'm going to gently tap to tone the yellow down with the wet paint that's below it, just to back it off a hair. That's it. I'm going to use a smaller knife for that. I do like this knife though. I just want to use a smaller one. There we go. There my good old trusty small one. Okay, you see how that yellow is still staying bright, but it's not yellow. Now it's a bright green. But the trick to do this is you need the yellow thick to start with, and then you got to blend it without over blending it, if that makes any sense. You want to just tap it enough and light enough where it's going to mix to make the real bright green, but without being yellow. And yes, at times of the year, there are yellow leaves and stuff. There's no question about that. But for this, no. Okay, now that I got this little knife out, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with some reds. I'm not going to go a lot of it, just in certain areas. And then I'll put some in the ground. You know, this is like mid-ground and a little further, so it's not going to be as detailed. But you still want color. There we go. A little bit of red. Red is historically a foreground color. And I'm going to use it with the flowers here, okay? But I've learned over the years that, and I think I said this before, wherever you use one color, use it somewhere else in the painting, so it doesn't look like it was only for there. So if I'm going to have red flowers here, and they'll actually be orange with the yellow I put on them, you still want to have red somewhere else, so it doesn't look like it's just in one area only. You want to kind of unify it a little bit. Excuse me. Okay, so I'll leave this little knife out. I'm going to use that again shortly. For right now, I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. I'm going to bring this up. There we go. Just little pieces of light here is what I'm kind of getting at. I love having light paintings. Thomas Kincaid, God rest his soul, was a master of putting light into his paintings. There we go. There we go. Okay. It's looking good, folks. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, highlight the water, put a little bit of flowers, grass, and we're done. Another 15-20 minutes. How deep are we in? We're at 48 minutes. Wow, this one's taking longer than normal. I'm sorry, folks. I hope you stick with me here and finish it out. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just putting it in thick. Right now, this second, I don't give a shit. I'm going to do different strokes to bring it together. Right now, I just want to get the white on there. Okay. Clean off your blade. Now, that looks stupid, obviously. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use the knife and go across. There we go. And this is really help us to give it a watery look. A very moving water, no question about it. And I'm holding the blade relatively flat. It's not 100% flat like when we do pine trees, but it's still pretty close. Now you can do it side to side. Okay, see how that looks too? A little bit more control. A little bit of green in there is good. You got green all over the place. There. There we go. And there's our water. Now, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some white caps here and there. Not a lot. And not as sloppy as I just put on. Okay, the way I did it to start with wasn't intentionally being sloppy. It's like, I don't give a shit because I knew I was going to manipulate the paint. Now, this has to be a little bit more see what I mean? Doing a little bit more careful. And it's a lot thinner, if you notice, than the first stuff I put on. There we go. And there's our water. Well, I was going to say we're making good time, but it's a little longer than normal, but this one's a little bit more involved than some of the other ones we've been doing. Okay, so now I'm going to go straight red. And this is CAD red light hue. So the same as our yellow, it's just red. It's a hue and it's the light. What I'm going to do is put this on relatively thick, and then I'm going to tap the yellow on top of it to make these really pretty orange flowers. And then this red coincides with that red to unify the painting color-wise. Now, one of the things that you can notice here is I'm going over a lot of the blue, the white, the green, and it's sticking. And it's covering. That's because I'm going very thick. Remember I told you, you don't want to go thick too soon. Well, we're pretty much at the home stretch of our painting. So now you can go as thick as your taste allows you to. Me personally, I like it controllable, but I still like it thick. Thick oil paint is beautiful. But I want it controllable. And I know that's kind of defeating the purpose of a knife, because a knife you're not going to have a lot of control, but you still have a certain degree. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to see how caked up that is with the red now? Now, finish this off with this. Just a little bit of red. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go into my yellow. I'm just going to touch. Let it take off the paint it wants to give me the orange that I want. And I'm tapping it in to blend it like I did up here. but not so hard where it just messes up that nice texture. And there's going to be some spots where they're just going to be red. I'm not going to touch. Just going to leave it. I don't want to have everything look the same. There we go. Okay. Here we go. I think a couple areas where I'm just going to tap it in, just so I have a distinct start and finish. Okay, my friends, we have a completed painting. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope I didn't yap on too long. Cool. Still under an hour. That's my goal. I like to do it under an hour because I know that most people, when they do DIY paintings and other stuff, hour seems to be the sweet spot, hour less. So I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend and a work week ahead. And for all you beautiful moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Talk to you next week.